What if I told you that most money problems aren't even math problems? And I'll go even as far as to say that most financial problems don't even start with money, they start with behavior. I'm going to talk about something that most likely all of us have experienced, right? We've seen something, right, on the shelf in a store, and it's low key out of our budget, but we've seen it before. Maybe it's something that we've been thinking about for a while, or heck, maybe it's even in the heat of the moment, and you're like, I gotta have that. That's right there. It has my name on it. I gotta have that. And you make the purchase. And is it the wisest of purchases? No, it's not the wisest of purchases, but you make it anyways. We've all bought something. We've all been in that place where we've bought something that we shouldn't have bought. And that is not a math problem. That whole situation, that whole back and forth with yourself is not a math problem. It is simply behavior, right? And so a lot of people say, a lot of people rather think that having knowledge, as long as you're knowledgeable, say in the area of finance, is, that's what we're talking about. If as long as you're knowledgeable, then you're gonna be okay. As long as you know A, B, and C, you're gonna be okay. Oh, well, I know this. This is something that I know. So, why? How does it apply to me? And let me be the first to tell you that knowledge simply won't cut it. Knowledge alone simply won't cut it. Most people know that credit card debt is expensive, right? They know that they should save, or that impulse spending can hurt after the dopamine rush leaves you, right? It can hurt after you've made that purchase and you're like, maybe I shouldn't have done that, like, so you can know it all. You can know everything. You can know all that there is to know. But how much of it, if any of it, will you even use? How much of that knowledge will you even apply? And so I'm going to speak on the good word of the Lord. The good word of the Lord. Can I get an amen? This is going to be in James 1:24. For those who don't read the Bible, go on and read the Bible. It is so good. It will change your life. I know it changed mine. I'm going to get the scripture. It's in James. I know where it is. I know where it is. James 1. Okay. So I'm going to be speaking on James 1:22 through 24. And James 1:22 reads, "But be doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. For if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he's like a man who looks intently at his natural face in a mirror. For he looks at himself and goes away, and at once he forget what he was like." He forgets what he was like. Maybe if I understood English and could read, then I would have said that. He forgets what he was like. Wow. So what does that mean? Why James 1:22? I want to Let me just say, I've heard Myron Golden. If you know Myron Golden, shout out to Myron Golden. Myron Golden has said that all principles are microcosms of each other. And I couldn't agree more, right? And that especially applies to the principles in the Bible, right? Because obviously here James is talking about being a doer of the word, not just hearing the word, right? When you're in church and you hear the pastor speak and you're like, wow, that's a really good word. That's really good to start the week off. And then Monday comes and you immediately forget what was taught that really, impacted you in that moment. Come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're not living in the way that you felt in that moment. I know life happens, but that's really what, that's part of what he's talking about. In this case, the reason why I say all principles, especially in the word of God, is they're all microcosms of each other because it applies directly to what we just spoke about with behavior, knowledge and behavior. The Bible talks about being doers of the word and not hearers only, right? The same thing applies to knowledge and behavior. And how does that apply? Obviously, it's one thing to know what you need to do, and heck, even say what you need to do, right? Even say what you're going to do. Yes, words have power. A lot of people say, "Oh, I'm going to speak it out. I'm going to manifest it," and so on and so forth. That's great. That's awesome. But at the end of the day, it's another thing to carry it out. It's another thing to actually do what you're talking about. Right? It's completely different. I'm all for speaking it out. I'm all for what it says in Proverbs 18. Um, Death and life are in the power of the tongue. So it's another thing to actually carry it out and do it. I'm all for speaking it out, but you actually have to put the work in. Faith without works is dead. Remember, point number one, knowledge alone simply won't cut it. You have to apply action. Point number two, behavior drives financial outcomes. An example would be fear, right? A direct example from the word would be the parable of the talents, when the master went out and he had three servants, and two out of the three servants went and invested what the master entrusted them with, the talents. Two out of three invested it, and one of them, what did one of them do? One of them buried the talent out of fear. And so the master, who was going out on his journey, he actually gave one of his servants 5 talents, another two, and another one. Okay, so what happens? The servant who received 5 talents ended up getting five more. Same thing with the other talents. He got two more, so they both doubled what they received from the master. They were both wise stewards of what they received from the master. And what the other one did, he buried the talent. He buried it out of fear because he knew that his. He even says here, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you scattered no seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here you have what is yours. He was thinking he was doing the right thing. He was thinking with his behavioral mind. His behavior caused him to be fearful because he was thinking, if I don't lose any of my master's money and preserve it, it's not going to be earning interest, but he's still gonna have what he gave me. He's not going to lose anything. What could go wrong, basically. And so a lot went wrong. In fact, a lot did go wrong. So he buried it. And when the master came back, he was furious. He was mad. And he was so mad that he calls him a wicked and slothful servant. You knew that I reap where I have not sown and gather where I scattered no seed. Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and at my coming, I should have received what was my own with interest. Very, very, very crazy stuff. But the moral of the story is fear. We cannot let our behavior be driven by fear. God didn't even give us that spirit, so we cannot allow fear to negatively impact us, especially in the realms of finances. Really, in any part of our lives, but especially in the realms of finances. Another way that behavior drives or can drive your financial outcome would be ego and comparison. A lot of people can be desperate for attention and validation from others. So, they make purchases maybe they can't afford. They make YOLO purchases because you only live once. Why not just, I deserve this? People maybe even a little older, they say, oh, I'm not gonna be here forever. I ought to get this for myself or for my family. And yes, I'm all for enjoying life. I'm all for enjoying what God has given us. But at the end of the day, you got to be wise with it. You know what I'm saying? You can't just be making these rash purchases. I've been seeing on YouTube, so many people they have these car payments, they have these mortgages they can't even afford. But, they do it because, I mean, they do it for a myriad of reasons, but one of them is, I'm not going to be here forever. Or they're internally, they may not say this on the outward, but internally they want to be noticed. They want to be seen as they got money, right? And I really, I can't really say nothing about that. It's just not wise. It's not something that we need to do. We should not get our validation from people. Our validation should come from above and only above. When we live to please people, people really, when we really zoom out of it, people really don't care about us. Like, people really don't care about you. And I don't say that to be mean. Like, I used to be self-conscious about this. I would be like, "Oh, what are they gonna think? They're watching me." People really aren't watching you like that, and they really don't care like that. And it's a you versus you battle. Really, it is. And I hope somebody just got freed from that. So I hope somebody listening to that just experienced freedom, because it's not worth it trying to impress people. Coming from a people pleaser, a former people pleaser, it is not worth it. It'll leave you empty and it'll leave you resentful. So take my advice, don't do it. Another way that behavior can drive financial outcomes would be instant gratification, lifestyle inflation. So when, say, somebody just got a new job and they're making more money, and they decide, hey, I'm making more money, I can afford this now, and they decide to upgrade literally everything in their life, and they start living either within or above their means. And when you start living above your means, even with earning more money, you're literally right back to where you started. So how does it make sense? It's not like you're increasing your life when you don't have to. Obviously the temptation is there, the money in your account is a lot greater than it was before, I can understand that, right? I've been in those positions where I'm making a lot more money now, and I can now get this that I couldn't get before because I was working at this place or I was working at that place. I get it. I've been there. I've walked that path, but it is not worth it. It's not worth it, especially when all the new bills that you have now are starting to be a lot more than you anticipated, and now things are starting to get a little, a little close, too close for comfort. Then it really defeats the whole purpose of you having that job and making more money, because you're not being a wise steward of what God has blessed you with, of what God has given you. That's another video in of itself. Stewardship. Procrastination. I have dealt dangerously with procrastination. That has truly, like, that has wasted so much time that I cannot get back. That has caused me to miss opportunities. Procrastination has done terrible things that I really wish I could, go back and fix, but obviously I can't, so I don't dwell on it. But now, with having experienced procrastination to great levels, when you really zoom out, again, just zooming out and reframing, procrastination, again, it's a behavior. It's all part of the behavior. All of what I just listed are all behaviors in your mind that can be corrected. So ponder that. Think about that. Think about any behaviors that you may be having right now that are causing you to, shoot yourself in the foot or hold you back. Think about it. I know I definitely still have some that I'm working through. The third point that I want to talk about would be, again, another reframe. The better question, instead of asking what's the best financial strategy, instead ask, do my daily behaviors support my financial goals? If your behaviors don't support your goals, then there's an imbalance there immediately. So think about that, break it down, and even get it on a pen and paper if you have to. Write down what are your goals, write down what are you doing, and if they match up. If there's an imbalance, say if you have the goal of saving $10,000, 20, 30, 40, 50, I don't know where you're at, but say that you have the goal of saving a certain set amount of money and saving enough to buy a car, or the specific car that you want or that you've always wanted, or going on that vacation that you've been planning with your family. Whatever the goal is, what behaviors are supporting that goal, if there are any, or what behaviors are not supporting that goal. If you break it down, write it on pen and paper. I've found that when you write things on paper, write them down physically instead of typing it, for some reason you retain it better. I think there's studies on that. But that's something that I found to do. You don't have to journal if you don't want to journal every single day, but for this exercise, write it down, try it out, and see, if there's any imbalances. I guarantee you there might be just one that you might be overlooking. For the closing, I want to say financial confidence isn't built from just one great and grandiose decision. It's not. It's built from hundreds of consistent decisions, time and time again, repeated over and over until it's routine, right? Until you've built the discipline to know what you need to do, and you know what you need to, which decision you need to make, and what to sacrifice, or what you need to remove or add. That's where the confidence comes from. It's not from just one decision. So most people focus on products, and I encourage people to look at the decisions and behaviors that drive those products. I really encourage looking at the bigger picture and reframing things. So if you'd like to see how your financial decisions work together, I'd be happy to walk you through a personalized financial analysis, just to get everything in front of you and to see truly what you may be leaving on the table, and you know to see how we can capitalize on that and leverage your options in front of you. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Rossi Mashad. You can expect more videos like these to come in the future, where we talk about finances, wealth building, debt, just financial solutions. My goal really is to attack the behavior that's holding you back. And so click the link in my description below if you want to get access to the debt-free retirement guide, to give you just a blueprint of a debt-free retirement. I'm going to speak a lot about retirement on this channel, so stay tuned if that is something that interests you. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video if it resonated with you. Comment down below what might be something that's holding you back, or a behavior that you have noticed that you've done in the past, or might still be doing, and you need to correct. I know I still have mine. And share this video with a friend if you feel like somebody would benefit from it. But thank you so much for watching. Y'all be blessed, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Take care.